Hey everybody, welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland, and tonight I've got a question for you. Is it me, or has 2024 been a bit of a bore? Now, when I say that, I'm talking about classic rock, in the world of classic rock. That's what my channel's all about. As a matter of fact, that is my tagline. I'm Michael Noland, The Bottom Line, the very best of rock and roll. And it seemed to me that last year, 2023, we got a plethora of offerings from classic rock artists, proving that they weren't quite dead yet. We got offerings from Jethro Tull. We got offerings from Paul Rodgers, greatly ignored if you ask me. Metallica. Yes, Mirror to the Sky. I even indicated that I thought that album was the album of the year. But then we got into 2024, and 2024 started off okay. Paul McCartney released his 50th anniversary edition of Band on the Run with a bonus disc that gave us unadorned tracks. Now, the problem with this release, I said at the time, was this was no longer 2023, which would have been the 50th anniversary, but Paul held this off until 2024. Now, I love this album, and with the bonus disc, it was well worth the purchase. So I was looking forward to the year as it progressed. Now, McCartney also released One Hand Clapping, a great album. I love this album. I've been waiting for this album for decades. Of course, this is the album where he plays with drummer Jeff Britton for the whole album. Now, as McCartney fans know, Jeff Britton was in and out of Wings like a flash, and I always felt these sessions should be put on vinyl, CD, and in the digital domain, mainly because they were historic, and it was high time that Jeff Britton, my favorite drummer by Wings, he had a snap and a syncopation that none of the other excellent drummers had. Now, what came next from the Beatle camp were further reissues. We got a remastered, remixed, redone, repolished Mind Games by John Lennon. If you notice, I don't have a copy with me, and part of the reason why I don't is because of all of the nonsense all around the release of this album that I highly regard. But by the time Yoko Ono and Sean Lennon got through in delivering this thing to us, I was, well, at that point, basically uninterested. I will pick up my own personal copy, but I've just got such a bad taste in my mouth, and it was because of the cube that was presented to us, chock full of toys for every girl and boy. If you're a collector, that's fine, but I see this man as an artist. I see some of the concepts regarding this release John might have even been interested in. But without him to pull back the reins, it became a comic book, in my opinion. Now, as far as George Harrison later on releasing his remastered album, I had pretty much lost interest in kind of keeping up with the Beatles, and that even resurfaced further with the release of their new box set for the American albums. And I've done videos on that and everything, but I've got a real flat affect when it comes to the Beatles in 2024. And I think it's perfectly demonstrated that flat affect, if you want to know why I feel the way I do, just take a look at Beatles 64, the new documentary on Disney+. It is a nothing burger, in my opinion. Now, getting back to my whole idea about 2023, how we got all these brand new albums with brand new material. We had a couple this year, and if I have missed anybody, please, in the comments, let me know. If I've missed some things, like I haven't been keeping up with Tears for Fears, and they've had a couple of releases since I've had this channel, and I just haven't had the time to, kind of regroup and reconnect to them. But I bought everything by them, and so they may be an outlier to my whole theory about 2024. But the albums that I wound up getting in 2024 really get down to just 2 albums, folks. All right? The first one, of course, I've given it praises, and it is the best release so far. I'll put an asterisk on that. And of course, I'm talking about Deep Purple's brand new album, Equals One. I think this is a modern day masterpiece, and I love this album. Now, I mentioned last year we got Yes, Mirror to the Sky. This year, we got John Anderson and the Geek Band, the band Geek. Okay, still getting used to that, folks. This album is fantastic. All right, so for 2 years in a row, as far as I'm concerned, we got Yes albums. John Anderson even says this is his Yes. All right, this band. And my God, this thing easily rivals Mirror to the Sky. As a matter of fact, I'm still listening to it and look forward to a video on me comparing this album to Mirror to the Sky shortly. So all in all, if 2024 was a Christmas tree, it looks pretty ragged to me, and I take the damn thing back, except this particular ragged Christmas tree has this wonderful ornament on the top of it, promising us of greater things to come. And of course, I'm talking about the announcement by Led Zeppelin of their upcoming film to be released on February 7th, 2025, Becoming Led Zeppelin. Now, what is so special about this particular documentary? Well, first of all, it's going to be presented to us only in IMAX theaters, and the visuals, like the Beatles, Beatles 64, are promising to be quite startling. Now, they're going to do a limited release at first and then expand it to over 200 theaters. So I'm hoping that this film will be a bit closer to me than Paul McCartney's film in 2024, mainly because it had such a limited run, and to get to go see it, well, it just wasn't worth it for me. And by the reviews of what people said, I didn't miss much. But with a wider release, I might actually get a chance to see this film. Now, this film also promises us stuff that we haven't seen in other Led Zeppelin documentaries, and the reason for that is because this is going to be the very first documentary ever sanctioned by Led Zeppelin themselves, all right? Jimmy talked about this, Jimmy Page, and he said the reason that this hasn't happened sooner wasn't because he hadn't got offers, but that the offers he got just didn't get what Led Zeppelin was all about. And he said when he finally met these 2 gentlemen who are doing the film now, they had it all storyboarded it out and presented to him and his team in leather-bound presentations. Not only was it well done and well researched, but Jimmy was amazed how these 2 guys got what Led Zeppelin was all about. And what was it that they got that nobody else seemed to get? The music. It was always about the music, and has always been about the music concerning Jimmy Page. Now, the documentary also promises us a brand new glimpse at an interview never seen before by John Bonham. So they're going to be able to do in this film kind of like what they did with John Lennon with the Beatles in Anthology. They're going to insert him right along with brand new interviews from the older members of Led Zeppelin. And I love this whole approach. I've long said that we need a proper anthology project from Led Zeppelin, and this film could be the germ. Nay, I even predict is the germ of such a project. And to understand what I'm talking about, first of all, you've got to see what the film is promising. You know, this film was seen in 2019, an hour and a half version of it anyway, to a standing ovation and wild applause. So Led Zeppelin fans have been chomping at the bit. One of us, TJR over on his excellent channel, TJ, one of the channels I watched back before I even thought of starting a YouTube channel. So if you haven't heard of him, I encourage you to go over there and sub that guy up. He is a musician and he has a lot to say about rock and roll. But anyway, in his latest video on this, he stated that he had done a video 3 years ago and he's been waiting for 3 full years for this film to finally manifest itself. And I can certainly see why he's excited, because when they announced that the film will include entire performances of Led Zeppelin. How many times have you seen a documentary of Led Zeppelin with a voiceover going as Robert Plant sings, you know, a portion of A Whole Lot of Love with his lips totally out of sync with the soundtrack? We're going to get much better with this release, folks. Now, I did a little bit of digging and I found out that the film is going to include footage from Fillmore West, Led Zeppelin's famous concert, the concert that many people point to as being the one concert that sparked the fire. Overnight, they were a success, it seemed like, to many fans from the point of that concert. That concert is so important that I even picked up a bootleg of it, all right? I admit it. I love the whole story, how Led Zeppelin wound up at San Francisco. And it started with their entire Northwest touring, way up in the Northwest. And then they wound up in LA, fine-tuning their show only for this show to be presented to the world. Not only that, but they're going to present some concert footage from the Texas area. Now, this is a little bit earlier in the year for this one. This is live in Dallas, March 4th. They're going to include some footage from August. So very interested in what they've got to offer us there. But I mentioned an anthology project, didn't I? And I said that I was predicting that this is exactly that. You know, these are highly anticipated bootleg albums for Led Zeppelin fans. And I think that Jimmy, by what he has said in the past regarding bootleg offerings, that was one of the reasons that the band even released Coda and even further extended it. This is the perfect opportunity for Jimmy to kind of shut down that entire market, and I think he'll be doing that. I think there's going to be companion discs, either on CD or vinyl, maybe both. Of course, it'll be available digitally, and I'm predicting we're going to get a new official Led Zeppelin bootleg before we're through with it. But you know what? I don't know. I'd have to defer to Vance over at Zeppearl, another excellent channel. You know, he's in the know. Maybe he's heard something. But you know, when I think of what Jimmy has said in the past and what he's saying about this current film, that he was so turned on by these gentlemen being able to connect with what Led Zeppelin was really about. It wasn't about mud sharks in LA. all right? It wasn't about the $200,000 being absconded from them. It wasn't about their own vanity project. The Song Remains the Same film. All of that was part of Led Zeppelin, but it was the outer core. The hard core was always the music. And so I am absolutely excited to see this film and will make a serious attempt to see it. As a matter of fact, if I do that, I'll be presenting that entire trip in a video. All right, so I've got a couple of questions for you tonight. Two questions to the tribe. First of all, what do you think about 2024 overall? And especially compare it in your minds to what we got in 2023. I want to hear from you folks. And the second question is, how excited are you about this new Led Zeppelin film? Are you going to go to it? Is it something that you're even interested in? Or are you happy with the 9 albums they gave us and you don't even collect their live stuff? Or are you, like me, seeing this as an anthology project? An anthology is due Led Zeppelin. You know, I've said it many times. The Beatles are my #1 band in classic rock. Closely, by the way, followed by Led Zeppelin, all right? These are my 2 favorite bands in rock and roll, and both bands should have anthologies. The Beatles have it, Led Zeppelin needs it. All right, that's the video for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you gotta give me a thumbs up, because then that gets that algorithm, that YouTube algo demon working, and then it sends it off to a bunch of other home feeds. They get interested, come on over, and then the tribe, grows, all right? And if you're not a subscriber to this thing we call the tribe, it's so freaking easy. All you have to do is hit that subscribe to the tribe button, tap that top bell icon. See how I do that? Just rolls off the tongue, and you'll be notified of all my future videos. All right, I'm Michael Noland. This is The Bottom Line, the very best of classic rock. But it's only my bottom line until you guys start hitting the comments. Then it becomes our bottom line. That's where we show we are the tribe.